My husband proposed 2 months after we met. Story time. Let's talk about how I fell in love with the man that I'm now married to 16 years later. Aww. I was a classroom teacher in New York, and his niece was in my classroom. I knew of him through one of his sisters who he was very close with, and from time to time she would tell me about how kind he was and what a good person he was and stuff like that. So I knew of him, but at the time he was away in the military, so he wasn't nearby for me to see who she was talking about. One day I was in my classroom preparing for the afternoon session, and I just felt like a heavy weight in my presence. I turned around. When I turned around, it was this handsome, succulent lips man standing staring at me with a smile. So I was like, who is he? Anyway, I walked up to him and I said, "Hello, my name is Mr. Robertson. How can I help you?" And he was like, "I'm here for Karen." Let's just call his niece Karen. So he was like, "I am here for Karen." So I was like, "Oh, and who are you?" He's like, "Well, I'm her uncle. I'm her mom's brother," and blah, 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 blah. I was like, "Okay, so it's going to take me a while to get her together because she's resting." And he was like, "No problem. I can wait." I stand out here and wait. I'm like, "Okay, no problem." Fast forward, while I was getting the niece ready, and she's like hugging on me because she was very fond of me and I loved her. So as she was hugging on me and "Miss Robertson, Miss Robertson, Miss Robertson," he was just staring at me with his smile. Every time I look up, our eyes would just catch for. I'm like, okay, homeboy feeling me. And I had on my little skirt and whatever. I was the back then, okay? Okay. Nevertheless, I walked up to him and I was like, "Okay, so she's all ready, but you would need to sign her out. This is just a protocol, blah, blah, blah." As he was signing her out, he was like, "So can I have your number?" And I was like, "I don't have a phone." He's like, "What do you mean you don't have a phone?" I'm like, "I just don't have a phone. I can't afford a phone." No. Game. Listen to me. I was a player back then, okay? Nevertheless, he was like, "Okay, what time do you get off?" And I was like, "I get off at 5. He was like, "Okay, can I come back to get you?" And I was like, "It depends." Nevertheless, long story short, he left. Like within an hour and a half, I'm looking through the window because my classroom, the window was by the public road. So I'm looking through the window, and lo and behold, homeboy is back at the school. So now I'm thinking, uh-oh, what did Karen leave back behind her? Homeboy came, rapped to the door, my classroom door. I opened it and I was like, "Hi, did Karen forget something?" And he was like, "No, I'm here to bring you a phone." I was like, he's like, "Yeah." And back then it was BlackBerry. So homeboy brought me a whole brand new BlackBerry. I was like, let me know he is confident about who he is. Because for me, that was a big sell. It wasn't the fact that it was a phone. The fact that he was confident that we gonna be somebody was a sell off the back. The fact that he went and took out a phone in his name and didn't even know me was like, she's mine kind of thing, right? Nevertheless, him, his sister, and I went out that evening to a place back then. I don't know if it's still open. If you guys know about a place in New York, my New York people, if you know about a place called Squads, I think it was on Utica Avenue. And so we went out there for dinner, right? They used to sell a nice rasta pasta and coconut shrimp and whatever. And I'm a big seafood girl. So anyway, we went out to Squads, him and I and his sister. And, back then, the school had a policy that you cannot hang out with parents. So I was like kind of avoiding the sister to take any pictures and stuff like that because I didn't want to post it on social media and get in trouble, right? And I think I didn't explain that to his sister at the time. So that kind of probably made her kind of felt, I don't know, she never said that she felt anyway, but I feel like that's what happened. But nevertheless, we kicked it off. We kicked it off from that day, and we were inseparable after. Like, we talked a lot. But what was the winner to my heart was the fact that my son, about 3 or 4 days after we met, my son had a very bad asthma attack, right? And at the time, my son was 2 years old. And when my son had his asthma attack, the doctor said to me, "The only way we can save your son and he has a long, healthy life is you move from New York and go to a warm state, because his asthma is being triggered by this cold weather here in New York." And so I had literally just gotten my green card maybe a couple months prior, and I didn't go back home yet. So I called my parents and I was like, "Can you take Adrian for a few months or maybe a year, because this is what they said to me. And they said, if I want him to live, this is the only way they can help me. And my mom was like, what kind of question is that? You just get on the plane and bring him. I called him and I was like, hey, I have to travel to Guyana for 3 or 4 days. And this is what's going on. My son is sick. I'm in the hospital with him. He was like, did you eat for today? And I was like, no, I haven't. He's like, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Brought me chicken soup for me and my son. What? Check number 2, right? I was like, okay, homeboy showing me that he's a provider, right? A provider. And he's like really listening. And so he came over, brought the soup and stuff. And he was like, so what are you going to do? How are you going to go to Guyana? And I was like, I don't even know. Like, this is last minute. I don't even know how I'm going to afford this. He was like, don't worry about that. We're going to do it together. We're going to get through this together. Nevertheless, long story short, my ticket was booked. I took my son home to Guyana, came back. He was waiting at the airport to pick me up at the airport. Hello? And so we started talking, and I said to him, I said, listen to me. I've been in a marriage before. I don't want no long dating. I'm not about to waste anybody's time, and I don't want anybody to waste my time. So this is what I want. What do you want? And he was like, yeah, I am coming out of marriage too. I don't want to waste anybody's time. I know what I want. This is what I bring to the table. What do you bring to the table? If this is something that you want, then we will move forward. And we kind of like establish our boundaries in the beginning and our expectations in the beginning. And I would say this is by the time we were like in maybe week 2.5 of knowing each other. And so then one night he came over, and we weren't even sexual yet, right? And I want to put that in there for context, right? We were just talking to each other and getting to know each other. And so one night he came over to my crib, and we're watching a movie, and he said to me, hey, when last you talked to your parents? And I was like, I called him a couple days ago to talk to Adrian. He's like, you should call them right now. I was like, okay. I didn't think anything about it. So I picked up the phone and I called my parents. And he was like, can I speak to your parents? Why? In my head, I'm like, why? Anyway, I'm like, Mommy, I have a friend here and he wants to say hi. So I give him the phone to say hi to my parents. And lo and behold, he was asking my parents for my hand in marriage. Like, what? Then he gets up, my parents